So today we're going to do something a little different. We're telling the story of a football club, but not through its league tables or its trophies. No, we're going to look at the very ground beneath its feet. It's a tale of community, ambition, and two very, very different homes. Okay, let's kick things off with this quote. Tooting put up a good fight. Now that's from an opponent, a player from Bradford City back in '76. And you know, that really says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the spirit of Tooting and Mitcham United. I mean, you don't get a nickname like the Terrors for nothing. That reputation, it was built in tough, gritty games, just like that one, where they earned the respect of the big professional teams, who walked off that pitch knowing, without a doubt, they'd been in a real battle. You see, this entire story, it's really defined by two places, two homes. First up, you've got the historic, the much-loved Sandy Lane. I mean, this place was just soaked in memories. You can almost feel the ghosts of past glories. And then there's the modern Imperial Fields, a place built to take the club into a whole new century. So where did the club even come from? Well, it was born out of a pretty simple, practical idea. See, back in 1932, people realised, hey, this area just can't support two rival teams. It just wasn't working. So Tooting FC and Mitcham Wanderers did the sensible thing. They merged. They joined forces, uniting two whole communities under one black and white striped banner. And just like that, the club we know today was born. Alright, let's talk about their first iconic home, Sandy Lane. Because to really get this club, you need to get this place. It was so much more than just a pitch. At Sandy Lane, even the buildings, the architecture itself told a story. It was a story of massive dreams and, well, some really charming imperfection. Think about this. For almost 80 years, from 1923 all the way to 2002, Sandy Lane was the absolute soul of this club. But the thing everyone talked about, its most famous feature, it had to be the stand. The one they started building back in 1958. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This is the story of the stand. The grand plan? Oh, it was huge. They wanted to build this massive new stand that ran the entire length of the pitch. So phase one, they build the middle bit. Then they have an epic cup run and get a nice bit of cash and boom, they're going to build the third quarter. But that's where the story stops. That last quarter, it was never, ever built. And that right there, that's what perfectly captures the character of the ground. That unfinished stand became this permanent symbol of what the club was all about. Aiming for the stars, even if you don't quite get there. It was like a statement of intent, you know, just frozen in time. 3 quarters complete. A beautiful, charming, concrete piece of club history. But look, the ground is just grass and concrete, but then it's heroes, right? And Sandy Lane, wow, it was a fortress. It was on this pitch that the Terrors really, truly earned that nickname. Especially when the magic of the FA Cup came to town. This place, this is where legends were made. So when you look at the club's history, they really had 2 golden eras in the FA Cup. The first was in 1959, where they got so close to pulling off one of the biggest upsets you can imagine. But the one everyone remembers, the legendary run in the mid-1970s. Well, that became the absolute high watermark for the club. Seriously, try to picture it. It's 1959, the pitch is frozen solid, and a little old Tooting and Mitcham, a non-league side, are 2-0 up against the giants of Nottingham Forest. And get this, Forest would go on to lift the FA Cup at Wembley that very same year. But for one magical, unbelievable moment, the impossible felt totally possible, right there at Sandy Lane. But the story that really gets passed down from parent to child, the one that's become folklore, that's the incredible FA Cup run of 1975 to 76. This was the campaign that took a group of ordinary players and turned them into absolute club legends. So, in the third round, they managed to get a tough draw away from home, which meant they brought Swindon Town, a proper Football League side, back to Sandy Lane for a replay. They pulled off a true giant killing, winning 2-1. Just incredible. And that, with that single victory, put them in the 4th round proper. We're talking the last 32 teams in the entire competition. To this day, that's the furthest the club has ever gone in the FA Cup. It was a massive historic achievement, and you better believe they still talk about it today. And here's the thing you've got to remember. History doesn't just happen. People make it happen. And in this case, it was these guys. It was Dave Juniman and Alan Ives, the men who scored the goals that beat Swindon. It was Nicky Glover and Derek Casey, who scored in the first game to even get them a replay. And Steve Grubb, a hero from the year before. See, these weren't just names on a programme. These were the guys, the local heroes, who made the impossible happen right there on that pitch of grass. But you know how it goes. All good things, all great eras, they have to come to an end. And after decades of history, these legendary cup nights and just countless memories, the final whistle was about to blow on the club's famous quirky old ground. And so, the final season arrived, 2001 to 2002. After nearly 80 years of football, of all the cheers and all the heartbreaks, the club played its very last games at its historic home. And then came a story that's probably all too familiar to a lot of football fans out there. The ground was sold, the terraces, the famous three-quarter stand, it was all torn down. And in its place, a housing development. Just like that. The physical heart of the club was simply gone. But that wasn't the end of the story. Not by a long shot. The club's story didn't die with Sandy Lane. In 2002, a brand new chapter started when the team moved just a little way down the road to a new home, ready to carry that legacy forward. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's the story of the club's evolution. You can see the shift so clearly from the massive crowds and the unique character of Sandy Lane, defined by that unfinished stand, to the slick, modern facilities at Imperial Fields. This is a ground that's built for the future. I mean, it even hosted the Olympic torch back in 2012. And that's really the main takeaway here. A football club, it's so much more than just bricks and mortar. Or in this case, it's more than a quirky three-quarter stand. The soul of that club that lives in its stories. It lives in its people and in that fighting spirit. All that happened was the Spirit of the Terrors packed its bags and moved to a new address.